Mini skirt on, take my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, take my body in
Hello,
glitter.
hello, hello. You are now tuned in to the A Little Bit A Lot podcast. I'm your host, Kristen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh my gosh, it's been a crazy week, guys. How have you been? When you guys are seeing this, Halloween will have already passed. What did you guys think about my Halloween episode last week? It was so much fun to film. I really enjoyed myself, like having that guest, my boyfriend Juan with me. That's always nice, a nice break from like doing it solo, podcasting solo. And I really had fun like dressing up. Like the Rosalie outfit, the wig, like the whole shebang was just super exciting and super fun. And like I mentioned in that episode, we had a really great month filled with so many different spooky activities, hay rides and stuff like that. Lots of candy. I mean, I just re-upped on my candy supply this past weekend. So yeah, like we've been locked and loaded for spooky season and it's been a really great time. So if you guys haven't checked out last week's episode, for spooky season, make sure you go ahead and check that out. But yeah, been super busy. Hope you guys are doing well. And this week, I really wanted us to talk about moving out for your first time. Like, what should you do? What are some tips? And I guess just kind of like, share my experience, because it's not like I'm like an expert in any way, shape, or form or anything like that. All I can go off of is like letting you guys know how I did it and things I wish I could have done better or things that I'm glad that I did, and just share that with you, because I know that a lot of my audience is a little bit younger. And then there's a lot of people who are around my age. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before. I'm 27. I'll be 28 in February. A Pisces baby. My birthday's on February 21st. And there's a lot of people my age who like are also, thinking about moving out for the first time too. Like I know there's a lot of people my age who still live at home with their parents and stuff like that. So whether you're thinking about moving, and you haven't already, then I feel like just speaking on that experience, would be helpful for some, and also just to kind of be able to like really just process like my moving experience in general, because I feel like so much has happened and I haven't really had time to like sit down and think about because there's just some like crazy things that went into like my moving story. So before we get into that, I always got to say at the top of the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. I'm on the way to my first 100 subscribers. So like this video if you like the video, if you think that, I'm giving you some good advice and good tips and things like that. And if you're listening on Spotify, I appreciate you. Make sure you go ahead and follow the podcast so that way you're keeping up to date with every new episode, and rate me 5 stars while you're at it. I appreciate it. And of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give that 5-star rating and give me a review to let me know different specific details that you're really feeling about the content that I'm giving you guys. So yes, and also I have my iPad here for notes, of course. I wanted to let you guys know some like super exciting news for the podcast. I am now an Amazon associate. Like, I know I've seen a lot of girlies on TikTok being like, I want to be an influencer. This is how I'm going to do it. Follow me on the road to 10K or like whatever. And I feel like that's been kind of a trend where there's been like more transparency between people who are wanting to be influencers and people are like giving, tips and tricks and stuff like that. So I feel like I kind of want to like be transparent with you guys and that way too. So that way you can, support me and support the show, and that like you're supporting an individual, I can't talk today, an individual who's transparent. So yes, if you know me, you know that I love Amazon. I understand that there's like Jeff Bezos, not really anyways, but as far as like the products and stuff go, like, girl, I'm gonna do a 2-day Amazon Prime delivery, like, so freaking quick. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Allergy medicine, check. My Halloween costume from last week, check. Like, there's literally always an Amazon package at the door. So the fact that like I signed up to be an Amazon associate, it's like really a big step for me, putting myself out there, going forward to be able to monetize this podcast, to be able to, give me some type of like, side income, side hustle moment, because we all know that with inflation, the struggle is real, girly. And it's like I'm not too far from like post grad, and I'm still pretty much early in my career. The raises haven't really hit, the pay grade that I really need to be at isn't really there. So we got to do what we got to do. So yes, I'm going to be linking like any type of Amazon products that I truly believe in or that I personally tried in my bio. So it's going to be on my link tree. And yeah, so if there's any Amazon products that you see on there that you might take an interest in, of course, it's going to directly help support the podcast. So again, that's going to be in the bio. I appreciate that. And I also have an affiliate link for Bare Minerals. That's right, guys. I mean, I literally have Bare Minerals on the beat right now. If you're on YouTube, like, I love a glam moment. I love kind of just doing a light, soft, quick glam. And Bare Minerals and me like go way back, because growing up, like my mom used to always use like the Bare Minerals like powder foundation. So I just somehow like ended up getting into it. I also use their concealer, and the affiliate link that I'm going to have in my link tree is going to be for the Bare Minerals lip gloss. I know it's a little bit pricey, but like when it comes to that makeup, like I'm gonna pay the price for that good quality stuff because I have sensitive skin. I mean, even when it comes to my lips, like I can't use certain like lip products and stuff like that, because then that'll like irritate my lips, because sometimes I get like, my eczema, sometimes I get eczema like on my lips, and it's a whole thing. So when it comes to like the Bare Minerals lip gloss that I have an affiliate link for, I really like it. So if you guys want to support the pod, like I said, go ahead and use that affiliate link. And another exciting announcement to make is the fact that I have a buy me a coffee as well. So if you guys want to go ahead and buy me a coffee and support the show, I appreciate it. Like, oh my God, Bare Minerals affiliate link, buy me a coffee, and Amazon associates, like, your girl is really truly like in her influencer era, like her influencer bag. Like she's really putting herself out there to like make her dreams happen. So if you need a sign to start your dream podcast, this is your freaking sign, guys. Okay, go ahead and do it. Put yourself out there, because the wondering what could have been, like, it would kill me. Okay, it was killing me at night, like at the fact that I'm not going out there trying to put myself out there and do what I have dreams of doing. And so the fact that I did it and I'm here only within around 2 months of the podcast launch, hello, like, iconic. So yes, thank you so much for supporting the podcast. I appreciate it. Click those links in those bios if you're interested. If not, I totally get it. I know a lot of times people aren't really into affiliate links and stuff like that. So that's totally cool. If you want to just vibe with me, reluctant. Like, I get it. So yes, moving on to like moving and stuff like that. Like I said, I have a couple notes on my iPad here, and I want to start off with like a list of things that I recommend when it comes to moving. And the first thing that I have on the list was that I took my time and I collected things for a couple months before moving in and putting them in my storage. And I feel like when I was first getting ready to move out of my mom's house, I did like so much research, and like, of course, there's so many other YouTubers out there who are a little bit more qualified, who have different advice and stuff that I listen to. And a couple of them, mentioned this. And I know that like is such a bare minimum, like standard advice that people give. But I truly think that like, it's probably one of the most important things that you can do. Like, you do not want to be in the situation where you have moved, you're getting ready to move out, and you still haven't started like collecting anything. Like, going into your apartment when you have nothing, like, it's just stressful. So I am so glad that before I moved out, I started collecting stuff. And thankfully, like, in my mom's apartment, we had a storage unit, or if you have a friend or a family member who has a storage unit, that always works. Just any place that you can like stuff your things, like, that always helps. I was hitting up, Amazon whenever they had like deals, Big Lots. I don't know if you guys have a Big Lots in your area. They had a lot of stuff for cheap. I ended up getting like a Rachel Ray pan set for like less than $100 that I still use now. It's about to be 3 years that I've been living here, that still works good enough, like simple things like that. And just like other cute little decor, essentials, put that in storage and build up over time, because having to try to like race and get all of those things like when you're already in the apartment is just not it. And it's like even little simple stuff like laundry detergent, sheets, towels for your for the bathroom, Swiffer. I got my vacuum cleaner. Just simple stuff like that, I think, really helps when you try to get it in advance. So that's the first tip that I have when it comes to moving out. And another tip that I recommend is finding a checklist online and marking everything that you can eat. There's so many different checklists with different specific items. And the one that I used before me and my boyfriend moved into our apartment, had like everything listed like per room. So if you can find one like that, that came in clutch. Like, being able to just be like, things you need for the bedroom, things you need for your bathroom, laundry, stuff like that. And then marking it off as you get that stuff before you move in helped me a ton. And also, I want to talk about renter history. When you have not lived in your own apartment before, you're not going to have any renter history, which is freaking annoying. And the only thing that the apartment complex that can go off on is your credit, because they don't have like a renter history to show that like you have, good rapport with your previous homes, like especially if you've been living from home. So that credit has got to be A1 since day one. So if you haven't already started working on your credit, I would recommend, doing that, working on that in advance, taking a couple months to a year to like build that credit up. And I remember like I started my credit when I was still a teenager. When I was, working at my first fast food job, I knew that credit was going to matter to me, at some point in life. And this was before I even started thinking about like the possibility of ever even getting my own place, like before my boyfriend and I even got together. I think it might have been at the beginning of when we first got together, because we've been together for 11 years, high school sweethearts. But it was very early on. And I remember nobody would accept me, for a credit card. So I started off with like fingerhut.com. I'm not sure if that's even still a thing or not. But basically, I ended up buying this like JBL speaker and making payments on it every month as a way to build my credit up. And then after that, once I started college, I ended up applying for a Discover like student card, and then you would get like cash back for like guys, oh my god, I'm all over the place. Let me slow down. You would get credit towards your bill for supplying your copy of your report card if you got like good grades. So then eventually I graduated to that with like the Discover card. So whatever you got to do, like building up your credit as early as possible is always such a good thing, because at that point, like my credit score, my boyfriend's credit score was already good, because we had been working on it for years, even before we even thought about, like I said, moving into an apartment or anything like that. So if you can build that credit up, so that way you can have that to rely on if you don't have like renter history. And another thing that I did was like add up all my income and my bills. So, what I made a month, what my boyfriend made a month, all of the bills that we have to pay, when they're due. And then I talked to my mom about like, hey, like, what is your consumers and your electricity? What are things that are included in your rent? How much is your car insurance? How much is your car note? Like, anybody that's in your life that's already kind of doing it, ask them, or, look it up online, whatever you can do. But, in my situation, I had my mom, and she gave me kind of like an exact rundown of like, this is what I pay for, this is how much, yada yada. And then I would take, like I said, all of my income, my bills when they were due, and then took in like what my bills and stuff possibly could be when I move in, to calculate how much would I have left over a month. Because ultimately the goal is like, you want to try to make at least 2 times the amount of what your possible rent could be. So that way you can pay for all of your bills and then be able to still have some left over to, survive. So you don't like, be depressed. So you can still be able to do things. So I was so glad that I kind of went into it with an idea, because I know a lot of times like people will just jump in and not even like think about like the possibility of like how much extra stuff could cost. Like I saw somebody on TikTok, I forgot who said that, where they were just saying that like your rent is your kid, and then you also have like your grandkids, which is like Netflix, Hulu. Like you have to factor in those type of things before moving as well. So any and everything that you can think of, like that helped me when it came to being prepared in that way financially. And I think another thing that also helped me was like saving for the application fees, because I didn't know that you had to pay to, apply to these apartment complexes. Like, what? You have to pay a fee like per applicant. So if it's $40 per person, that's times 2 for me and my boyfriend. So that was annoying. And you also have to pay for the deposit. And then you also want to make sure that you're like saving up a couple months rent. And don't do like me in my situation, where it's like I was prepared in every other aspect, but I still feel like I needed more money to be able to like get my kitchen table and like my couch and my TV stand. So I did get out like a small loan, which I'm just now like almost done paying off, but I kind of regret doing that. So it's like, don't be like me in that situation where you have, money saved, but you don't want more, so you can get more stuff up front and you get that loan, because those freaking interest rates are annoying. And then having to like adjust to being on your own, having all these new bills to pay, on top of that, having this new loan payment that you have to pay off, like it's ghetto. So, if you can, save up as much as you can, with multiple months of rent, to have that as a security blanket. So that way, it's not like too tight financially for you. And another piece of advice that I got from, I forgot, somebody I saw online, also recommended that you should drive to the apartment complex that you eventually want to move into at nighttime. Because if you go during the day when the office is open and you're talking to the staff, and you may or may not like talk to the people in the apartment complex and the community, that's cute and nice. But what happens after hours? You know what I mean? Like when those, like the office is gone, the office staff is gone. Like, what kind of people are around? What kind of activities happen? Because it can be like a big difference sometimes between like day and night. And also you want to be able to like take in like, what are the grounds like? Because I remember we had one apartment complex that we like drove by, and consistently the trash was like a mess, which that may not be a make or break for you, but it was kind of just like, ugh, like it's dirty over here. They don't really keep up with like the trash for the tenants. Like, so that place was a chop. Like, it was too much. So like I said, if you can, try to drive by the area at night just to like see what's Gucci out there. You never know. Like, it could be some crazy activity at night. Like, it could be, ruckus. People could, party a lot out there or something. And then that can be disruptive for you. Just anything. So it's a little tidbit, but I think it helps. Special thank you to Smart Labels for sponsoring this episode of the A Little Bit A Lot podcast. Guys, Halloween just passed, and do you want to know the one thing I struggled with this year? Figuring out which storage container I even put my Halloween decorations in. I had to literally pull each container out and check them all because I couldn't remember which item was where. Each year, people get their holiday decorations out, and inevitably they can't find that one thing they want to put out. So with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, save yourself the hassle and try Smart Labels. They help you catalog all the stuff you're putting in your storage containers. So when you go to find everything again, it's as simple as a search in the app. If you want your storage to stay organized, search for Smart Labels on Amazon or visit qrsmartlabels.com. And another thing that I would recommend is touring your unit. I cannot express how important this is, of how many videos that I've seen on TikTok alone where people are like stuck with a unit that they did not sign up for because they didn't tour their unit. Like when we got ready for our tour, I made it very clear that I wanted to view the space that I was going to live in. Don't just show me some random space, like show me my unit. And when you get in that unit, girl, or boy, or they, them, whatever you identify as, get up in there, like swimwear, and make sure that you are checking everything. Like, I don't know, what the lady may have thought about me, but at that point I didn't care, because at the end of the day, like, this is my life. This is my well-being. I need to make sure that everything's good. So if there was a closet, I was opening it. I was looking up in there. You know what I mean? Like if there was a drawer in the kitchen, I'm opening up all the drawers. I'm opening up the refrigerator. In the bathroom, I'm opening up the cabinets. I'm opening up that medicine cabinet. I'm looking in the, at the toilet. I'm looking at the bathtub, checking corners and stuff, looking for bugs. Like, things like that. And of course I didn't do it kind of like a crazy person. I kept it kind of low key, just like, oh yeah, cool. Oh, what's in here? Stuff like that. But you have to be observant when it comes to like your space. Cause like when we first came in, they had like the previous tenant still had some type of like decal. You could tell it like used to be like a kid's bathroom, because they had like a unicorn decal on the toilet that they didn't take off. And I'm just like, oh, like, what's this? And they're like, oh, we forgot about that. Sorry, we're gonna have to take that off. And then I remember I looked and we didn't have a dishwasher. And I'm like, oh, so it doesn't come with a dishwasher? And they were like, it was literally just a huge empty space like in my kitchen. And they were like, oh yes, we still got to get you, that new dishwasher. The blinds were messed up. And I'm like, okay, are we going to get new blinds? What's going on with that? So yeah, make sure that you're touring your unit. And a lot of times once you get into your unit, they're going to give you like a checklist. At least at my apartment complex, they did, where it's a checklist of different things that you can go over. And if there's anything that's like, wrong or missing or that you need to be fixed, like take that opportunity to say something. Like, yes, I need a new blah, 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 stuff like that. And I don't know if everybody kind of gives this advice, but in my family, my mom takes like cleaning your new apartment unit very seriously. So before we even get in it, like she's gonna make sure that she's disinfecting like the shower, the kitchen. Like when we did get the new dishwasher, it was kind of dirty somehow, so we were cleaning that. She even like took the shower heads off and soaked them and clean them, because sometimes like the shower heads are disgusting and they had like a bunch of hard water stains on them. And in the end, I ended up like getting new shower heads anyway, because it wasn't a detachable shower head. So, I gotta have that detachable moment so I can like spray the shower down. Like if you don't have a detachable shower head in 2023, babes, like what are we doing? You know what I mean? So yeah, make sure that you are definitely touring your unit. So yes, those are just like a few little things that I was thinking about, like that I could maybe say that, if this could help anybody, and just like what I did, to prepare. And then by the time we moved in, My boyfriend and his brothers were able to just go in the basement for the storage unit at my mom's apartment, get everything on out, move everything on in. I had already had like my bed frame ready and my mattress. It came in a box. So the day that we moved in, him and his brothers were able to set up the bed frame, take that mattress out of that box, and do what they got to do. And then plus I work from home. So I had already had like my desk ready. So we brought that over. I set up everything, set up my Wi-Fi, make sure that's set up before you move in. So that way you're good to go. And I was able to just start working from home as soon as possible. And yeah, so as far as like, sorry if you guys hear that car passing by. But as far as like my apartment story when it comes to this place specifically, I think one thing that I wanted to point out was the fact that at first I felt really behind when it came to moving because I didn't move until I was 25 or 24, turning 25. And I personally felt like that was really late. Like I was so caught in comparing myself to my other peers that I graduated with in class of 2014. Excuse me. Where I felt like a lot of them had already had their apartments. There was a couple people that I knew that had their own place even when we were still in high school, like senior year. And there were people that already had a place, people that already had kids at that point. So I'm just like, oh my God, like here I am, still living at home. And it was really, really difficult, like for my boyfriend and I to like still be like mid-20s, having to like come over each other's parents' house and like chill on the couch. Like all we ever wanted was a space of our own. So that way we don't have to keep, living by our parents' rules and stuff like that. So I will always just be so hard on myself and just be like, oh, like this sucks. I'm not doing it good enough. I'm so behind when it comes to my peers. But at the end of the day, like none of that noise is going to matter because you have to be focused on you and like your journey. And that's something that I had to like really remind myself to push through, to just know that like the universe's timing is real. Like things are going to happen for you when they're supposed to happen for you. And in the end, there were so many times where we would, try to move out. And I'm just so glad that we didn't because we would have not been ready. Like, especially before college, like before we had, our degrees and our, decent paying jobs that we have now. Like if we would have still been trying to move, off of like both of us working at fast food salary, the struggle would have been really freaking real. And one thing I didn't want was to have to like move right back home. Like I just didn't want to take that L. So taking your time in that way so you can lessen the likelihood of you having to come back because you weren't as ready as you thought you were is so important. Like don't compare yourself to anybody else's pace. Like move at your own pace. And I know that waiting it out can be really tough. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I gotta move now, I can't take this anymore. But the strength that you have inside of you is like stronger than you ever can realize. So staying the course, keeping your head up, shoulders back, and just ready to go hard and save and really take your time so you can do it the right way, I feel like it's so worth it than like trying to rush into it and then potentially something happening. You know what I mean? So like, I'm glad that I waited when I waited. Like, yes, it sucked to literally have to share a room with my little sister all the way up until I was like, 24? But at the end of the day, like I did what needed to be done. So that's all that matters. So yes, and I felt like before we had this apartment that we have now, at first we were going to move into a different apartment. And I was like so sure that that was going to be the place because I felt like it was like a dream place for us. And we were getting ready to move in there. They had put us on the waiting list and we were like up next or something like that. And we had already been locked in. They had told us the price, yada, yada, yada. And then we were like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to move until like January or something like that. So then when the time came, we called them again and they were like, oh yeah, like between this time and now, that time and now, we did renovations and we like increased the price of rent by like $500. And at that point, I'm just like, what the heck? Like, yeah, technically we could have done it, but oh my God, like the struggle would have been like way too real, and it technically wouldn't have been like the best option for us to be able to have like income left over after paying rent there. And I was just so devastated. I'm just like, oh my God, this sucks. Like, I may as well just, toss it up. And then I remembered I had a pamphlet from an apartment that I went to with my mom like the year before, when I wasn't even like seriously getting ready to move, but like still kind of like everybody knew that I did want to do it soon, within like the next year or two type of energy, you know what I mean? And I remember we were like driving down the street and my mom was like, "Oh, look at that apartment." And I had never seen it before. I didn't even know that an apartment that nice was like in our area. And she was like, "You should go in, and get information." And I thought that my mom was so crazy. I'm like, "Girl, like now you're just playing in my face. Like you're being funny. You know that I could never afford this place." But she's like, "It doesn't hurt to like still go." And I remember just being so irritated. I'm like, "No, like I just think it's pointless. Like I would never be able to afford living in this luxury gated community." But she pulled in anyway. It was like, "No, like you need to go in and try to get some information." So I go in, I talk to the associate. She tells me all about the place. She gives me this informational packet. I bring it home and I kind of just toss it in my folder and I don't think about it. So then once that first apartment fell through, like fast forwarding a year later, and I didn't know what to do, I suddenly thought about that information packet. And I'm like, "Huh, yeah, like I did see that place, that one time, and my mom like forced me to get information from them. So let me find that." So I look, I find it, and I'm like, like this is probably not gonna, be able to like fall through for me either, but let me try to give them a call. And wouldn't you know that the apartment was actually like well within our budget, if anything like under our budget, you know what I mean? Like it was actually very affordable for me and my boyfriend for the place that we were in at that time. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad that I remembered this. And I'm just so glad, like I said, with the universe is just kind of put little seeds in your life, and you kind of just were like, "Oh yeah, I remember that one thing." Like imagine if I had just been like, "No, mom, like I just don't know." Like I always think about the possibilities of that. But yeah, so we ended up like calling them and they were able to get us in, and I'd say within like 3 weeks we were already like touring our unit, signing the paperwork, and then like 6 weeks later, after they had like worked on our unit, we were moved in. So thankfully we had that plan B, which I didn't even know at the time was even a plan B. Like I wasn't even thinking about that place that my mom had told me to get the packet from. But thankfully she did, and it was there. So now we, like I said, live in this nice little gated community. We've got the pool. Like there's mostly, like I said in a previous episode, like older people that live here. It's, really nice. And I'm just so thankful and like so blessed for that. Like I just thought that I would never be able to afford this luxury apartment, but they hadn't gone up on their rent or anything like that, and thankfully, and it worked out, and we were able to like get approved right away. I know a lot of times some people have to apply for apartments multiple times, or they apply and they get denied, but thankfully like everything with our process was just so easy and like so simple. So yeah, and I also want to give a tidbit about like being prepared to feel guilty, especially like if you're an older sibling or something like that. Like I didn't really realize how sad I would feel about like leaving my younger sister behind at home. And even though she's like about to be 24, we're still very close. Like we're only 3 years and 9 months apart. So the fact that we had been living together, and on top of that, sharing the same room for that long of a time, was a harder adjustment than I thought. Like I love to be able to have like my own space and my own privacy, but I didn't anticipate how much I would miss her and how bad I would feel about like leaving her back there. So, you know, if you are ever in that situation or you're getting ready to move, like be prepared that you may feel those feelings, and just know that those feelings are okay and they're totally normal. And at the end of the day, like if you have a good relationship with your siblings, they're going to support you no matter what. Your relationship shouldn't have to change that much just because you live apart. And at the end of the day, you can still keep that closeness and make it work. Me and my sister still FaceTime all the time, and we only live like 20 minutes away from each other. So I'm able to pull up on her real quick and hang out. She comes over my place. I still often go back to my mom's house and hang out with her. We still do different activities and stuff like that. And even like with little things, there's some days where I'm just like, hey, you want to play the Switch? And then we get online, we play Mario Kart and Animal Crossing together. I come to her island, she comes to my island. There's just still so many ways that you can still connect with your siblings, if you're apart, and stuff like that. And I know that the situation may be different where people may be moving further apart from their family. So as far as like physically being there in person is different, but there are different ways that you can still connect and still reach out and feel that closeness with your siblings, like online and on the phone and stuff like that. Like, don't move away and then, forget about your siblings. Like, they still need you. They still love you. So I kind of just wanted to like put that out there too, because like we thought we were ready, and my sister's like, I'm so ready for you to leave. Like, I can't wait to have my own room for the first time. And I'm like, girl, Sam, I can't wait to have my own apartment. And then like suddenly the day before, we're like, wait, I don't think either of us are ready, and like cry. But at that point, it was like already too late. So it's hard. Like, it still is hard. But if you really care to like put that effort in, like, it's still possible, like I said, to maintain the closeness of your relationship with your siblings, even if you move out. And yeah, so one last tip that I wanted to share that I was thinking about was like, be prepared that there's gonna be like some like funny happenings. You know what I mean? Like, anything could happen with your apartment. Make sure that you're safe. Because when I first moved into this unit, it was scary in the moment, but it's funny kind of now that I look back at it. It was like a little bit traumatic, where I was like working from home, and I guess the maintenance people like didn't know, they weren't made aware that like we were already like moved into the apartment. So they came in like trying to make sure that there was like other last minute things that maybe needed to be done. So they knock on the door and they're like, oh, maintenance. And they come in and I'm like, hello? Because like I was not expecting them to just like walk in, And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've never had this situation happen where I'm just like working from home. My boyfriend, works, like he goes in for work and it's just us. So I'm just by myself. And they were just like, oh my gosh, like, we're so sorry. Like, we didn't know that you guys were already like moved into the unit. We apologize. And I was just like so freaked out, because it's like, I felt like my life was in danger. Of course, like in the moment, like you're just sitting there, like not expecting somebody to just come in, and there's like these two big men waltzing on into my apartment. So that was freaking scary. And I called my dad like right away, and I was just like, these two guys like just came into my apartment. The office like didn't let the maintenance know that we were already moved in. And thankfully, since my dad lives in Grand Rapids, he's about 2 hours away from me, but he was like at my mom's house with my sister doing something. Like, he was in town. And the way that my dad like went and was like ran to my mom, it was just like, somebody just walked into Kristen's apartment, and was so pissed off and zoomed over here. And I had to like literally tell my job that I needed to take a break really quick so I could go up to the front desk. So I clocked out, took a little break, and my dad like forced me to go up to the front office, and he basically like yelled at the staff. He yelled at the staff. And he was like, I would hope that this is a safe community and that you guys aren't illiterate idiots who, don't know what they're doing. That's crazy. I would hope that you would try to keep my child safe. Like, this is my kid. I don't know about your kids and how you guys do things and yada, yada, yada. Like, oh my God, it was crazy. I know you're listening, Dad. You went in, okay? And I'm just sitting there like, I'm sorry. Because my dad can be like really lethal when it comes to the words. Like, he doesn't even have to really yell at you, yell at a person to make them feel awful. Like, I don't know. He's just so intellectually smart and witty. So it's like he can kind of cut into you and you don't even realize that he's even cutting into you. So it was crazy. And then like the maintenance guy was like, oh, I'm the person that was in the unit. Is there a problem? And he's like, okay, yeah, since you want to speak up, why did you go into my daughter's unit? And they apologized and just said that that'll never happen again and stuff like that. So yeah, make sure you're securing your apartment, guys. Get that Ring camera, put that stick under that door, something, because sometimes maintenance will pull up on you and that's not fun. That's not nice to have that surprise. So that's my like traumatic story of the time that maintenance came in. But yes, oh my gosh, I've already kind of gone over the time that I wanted to go over. So we're just going to swiftly move into my favorite segment. You already know, favorite thing of the week. Favorite thing of the week. This week's favorite thing is a song that I just found this past weekend called Bossin' by Kye. Kye. And I feel like it's a good song. Like, it's got like a cute little poppy message. Just be like, we're just bossing. And I've already told you that I love songs that like make you feel like a boss, that make you feel like a baddie, that kind of just get you motivated to just like have fun, feel good, get ready. And I feel like because of the pop beat, it's kind of like a Y2K type of beat where it almost just makes you feel like it's kind of like a brat song. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be adding that to the favorite thing of the week, favorite song of the week playlist. I mentioned it in last week's episode. I have a playlist. You can find it on my channel under playlists, or I have it linked in my link tree where you can go to that. And I'm going to be adding songs on there that I like, or that my guests like. So it'll be there. And yes, so sorry, I feel like if this is all over the place, like I didn't really go in with this with like too much of a plan or structure. I just kind of wanted to touch on the topic because I just feel like I've been seeing so many girlies like struggling on just kind of like the bare minimum things of what to do to move out. And if you guys have any questions or concerns or comments about like your moving journey or just anything, whether you've already moved and you just kind of want more help, or you're moving and you need advice, like feel free to drop those in the comments. And my DMs are always open at A Little Bit A Lot Podcast on Instagram and at A Little Bit A Lot Podcast on TikTok. So make sure you follow that and hit me up if you ever need any help. Like, I'm super open, super friendly, and I'm down to be there for my girlies because we want that success. We want that independence. We're driven to do what we got to do for a better life for ourselves over here. So yes. Like I said at the top of the episode, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm on my way to my first 100 subscribers on YouTube. Give me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and leave a review. And of course on Spotify, make sure you follow the podcast and rate me 5 stars to let me know you're feeling the show. So yes, thank you guys. I really appreciate the support so far. Like I said at the top of the episode, with like the fact that I'm like in my influencer bag, in my influencer era, with my Amazon associate links and Bare Minerals and buy me a coffee, like setting all those things up so that way you guys can support me so I can continue to keep doing what I love with this podcasting journey. It's got me gagged. Like, I never thought I would be here. Like, 2 months in, we're going up. Like, it's only up from here. So I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.